Hello friends, welcome to another interesting video. I know I always say this, I know all the videos are interesting, at least for me, and I hope you find this video is also very interesting. This video is based on a question posted on Power BI community forum, and today this video is not about DAX, it is Power Query. Yes, it is on Power Query, something interesting. Actually, I will take two Power BI community forum post and go through the question, and then we will solve it step by step. Let's look at the question first. Oh, also before we move forward, make sure to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when the new videos comes out. All right, so let's look at the question. What user has posted here is just a screenshot and from Power BI community forum. So basically what he has a couple of columns here, source, datas, I guess this is detail or description, and then this column ind_dc. And what he wants is to create another column based on this ind_dc column that give a row number basically. And row number need to reset every time the value changes in ind_dc column. So like for example, if you look at the first row, it starts from 1, and then the next row the value is 0, so it reset, it starts from 1 again, and then 1 and 2 because 0 0, so we have continuous values, and then 1 2, and then reset again because it's 1, and so forth so on. Again, this is 1 2 3 4, and the value changes to 1, and then it is 1, and it goes all the way down. So that's what basically is looking for, and this is in a Power Query solution. I think I did something on DAX on doing the similar thing, I don't remember, but this is like basically give a row number and the row number reset when the value changes from the previous row. So that's pretty much what the ask is. So let's look at in Excel. If we have to manually do it, let's establish how we will do it and what will be our, I mean, the way I thought about solving this, and I'm gonna show this in an Excel how I approached it and what was my thought process to get to the point how to make a solution in Power Query. Let's look in an Excel. I have the same data here in an Excel sheet, and the way I looked at it is like, okay, we need to establish the groups, right? So this, when the rows, the value in the continuous rows is the same value, so that becomes one group. So in this case, this is one group, and then here the group resets, and it itself is a group. Then this is another group, and then this itself is another group. So every time the value reset, it becomes a group. So we need to first establish a groups, right? So what I did is, like, I'm going to explain this in Excel. So what I did is every time I took the value from the next row. So in this particular new column, I said, okay, give me the value of the next row. So that's the one thing. In Excel, it's easy to do. And let's copy this. So this is, I got the value from the next rows, and then I said, okay, if this value, I'm going to add another index column here. Let's say add index column, just to show here quickly how we did it. So I'm gonna just, this is like kind of a, you call it group column or whatever you want to call it. So that's my one column here. So I said, okay, this is, let's put this, call it group. The computer is so slow. And this is my next row value, right? So that's what it is. So what I did here is I said, okay, if my current row value is not equal to next row value, then give me the group value. So basically, if my this value is not equal to my C2, which is next row value, next row value. If these are not equal, then give me the group. Otherwise, just leave it blank. That's what it is. So basically, if we now copy this formula here, but it's giving false. How do we do the blank in here? I'm not an Excel expert. I guess what I need to do here is go here and put in quotes. Okay, so basically we're gonna get Okay, so this makes sense. So what we're saying here is if current row, if next row value is not equal to current row value, then get the group value. Otherwise, don't leave it blank. So now we see we have this is one group, and now the group resets here. It's now 3 is a group. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy wherever the blank next, fill up whatever the blank is. I'm going to fill that with the next group. Now, basically what we need to do is wherever there is an empty row, we have to fill the grouping up, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this D column and of course paste as in a value because we don't want it as in a formula. So now we got it here, and now if I copy up where the empty values are, okay, so basically I copied all the empty cells from the next, like from 22, I copy all the way up until the next value available. So that's what I did. So I'm going to remove unwanted rows here because there's no point having that. So we don't need this. Again, the grouping value, the sequence does not matter in this case. Like, whatever the grouping number is coming up, who cares what that is? So the point is to find out, first we need to establish that groups to make sure when to reset the value. So now if you look at that, we have a one group. The first line has a one, group is one. The second two zeros, two rows has one same group, which is three, and then it resets to the 4, and then again with all the zero starts, so that's a one group. Now it becomes very, very easy. What we can do in Power Query, I'm not going to do it here, we can group by this group column and add the index column, and then we can expand the index column, and we will get the reset value by each group, and that's what will get this add to the point where we want it to be. So now how to do all this in Power Query? Let's get to Power Query. Again, I wanted to show this in an Excel, like how I approached it. What was the way to do this? The only critical part it was to find how to group those values together. When the value changes, the group number changes. The group number doesn't mean whatever the group can be. It can be whatever number, who cares? But the thing is, when the values are in the consecutive rows, that is a one single group. That's what we able to figure it out from Excel. So let's get to Power Query, and then I already did in Power Query. I will go step by step in there, rather redoing all the steps to keep the video short, and then I will explain each step in Power Query. So let's look at Power Query. All right, here in Power Query, I have a same table with one column. You can have multiple columns. That is not going to make any difference, the number of columns in the table, but for demo purpose, I have only one column here. Again, first step is source, which is just those the column with the values, and then of course type change. I'm not gonna do anything around that. Now the next step is, if you look at that, is to establish the grouping, right? To establish the grouping, first we need to get the value of the next row, and then we put the if conditions. To get the value of the next row in Power Query, there are tons of techniques, but here I use a self merge by adding index columns. That is immaterial how you get to the next row. The point here is we need to get the value of the next row of this column, right? So how I did it, first I added a index current row, that is like added index column. We start from 1 and increment by 1, and then I added another column. I call it a previous index. It's a previous index, but for the relationship point of view, will get as the next value, because if you look at the row number 1, our index is 1. If I merge this table by its, I merge this index column with the previous index column, this is gonna be this row will merge with this row, and that will give a value of the next row. I can call it a next index, but that doesn't sounds right to me. It's a previous index, but get the value for the next row. Anyway, I hope you understood what I'm saying here. So now once we have this index is starting from 1, and the previous index I have the index column. Again, where I add the index column, just to make sure, if you go and add columns, you can add the index column, and you can start from what value you want to start the index and what should be the increment. So in this case, the index started from 1. When I added the current row index, it started from 1 and increment is 1. And when I added the previous row index, I started from 0 and incremented by 1. So that's how we establish. It's nothing fancy about it, just adding the index columns. One is starting from 1, other is starting from 0. And then we are just doing the merge queries. Now merge queries, like we're merging the table in itself. Just to show you guys, because we have only, if I click on the merge queries, what I have is a table index. I have a index column merged with the previous index columns from the same table. Table index is current, not any other table. It's like a self joining. And once we did that, so we got of course another a table as the result. If we look at here, what we will get to see is, if you look at the values, when you click on the empty area of the cell, so it is giving me the value of the second row, which is INDC0, which is this one, and the index is 2 and the previous index is 1. So it's working. So we're getting the value for the next row. Again, then I have expanded this. I don't need all the columns, I just need the value of the next row, right? So now we got the value of the next row, exactly what we did in Excel. And I gave it a name, column name next, INDDC. So now we know what my current row index is, what my next row index is. Now we can add the grouping, right? And the one more thing I have to do is to make sure everything is, the sorting order does not change. I sorted it back on the index column to keep it in, make sure that there's no sorting changes. And then what I did is added a custom column. I called it a group column. Again, this is group. So again, if you look at that, my condition is if INDDC is not equal to next INDDC, that's exactly what we did in Excel, then give me the index column. Again, index is a group column for us, otherwise give me null. So now for the first row I got 1, and the next one I got null, and then I got 3 for this one, and somewhere we have it, somewhere we don't. Again, we saw in Excel how it worked. Now once we know the grouping, as I said, we copy this and fill the values up, and in Power Query we have a functionality, fill up and fill down. Again, that functionality is available if you go in a transform. There is something called fill, and you can have fill down and fill up. How does that work is, when you go fill up, and whatever the rows has a null values, it's going to take and replace those null value with the next available values. So what does that means is, if I'm at the row, at this row, if I go fill up, the 8 is gonna go and fill all the null values with the value 8, replace all null value with value 8. If I go fill down, what it will do in 8, if I'm at this row, it will see the next row does not have the null value, it will do nothing. If I go to the 9th, if I go fill down, it will fill this null column, row number 10, with the value 9. So basically replace fill up and down depending on which direction we want to go. In this case, we saw in Excel how we did it. We are filling up. So that is my next step. And now as you see, that all the grouping has been done. So if you see the first, I'm going to remove all these columns here just for the add a step here to make sure I show you guys correctly here. So I'm going to remove columns. That's next step added. If you look, row number 1, the value 1, and this is a 1 first group. Now these 2 zeros, because those are consecutive values, this becomes one group. Now this is itself is a one single line, is a single group. Now these 4 lines, because they all are 4 zeros, consecutive values, so there is a one group called 8. Again, the group value does not matter. It could be anything. It can be 200, 205, 206, doesn't matter how long your list is. The point is, get the grouping of the consecutive rows. So that's what we establish here. I'm going to delete this step which I just added, because I don't want the rest of the steps to break. And now this is what we did in Excel, right? Until this point, filled group. So we create the group. Now, as I said, the next step is we need to group it by the group column. So what I did is, I created a group column. So actually from here I will start doing the step again. So what I did is I got grouped by, And when I go group by, I said let's insert a step here. In group by, I selected the column in which I want to group, which is of course my group column. And then in this, I added a column name all rows. And then you have it multiple operations. You can aggregate, and you can also tell it to give me all rows. Basically, it's going to group by each group or segment, whatever you want to call it. It's going to give me all the rows within that group. So I selected that, all rows, and OK. And what it will do is, now we have a group, whatever the groups are, and under each group we will have all the rows. In first group, we had only one row, I know, so that's what we see if we click on the empty space. In group number 3 we have 2 rows, and in group number 4 we have 1 row, and so forth, so on. So it doesn't matter. So now we have a number of rows by each group. Now we can add the index column, because there is a, again, we just added index column in step number 3. The similar thing on this table, we will add an index column. So what we can do is, so this each underscore is returning a row, right? Set of a rows. So what we're going to do is, we're going to add a column, a index column here. So what I'm going to go is table dot add index column, and then underscore. We're going to keep it like that. And then the next, if you look at the syntax, the next is the new column name. Let's call it row number. And then the next is initial value. We want to start from 1, and whatever the increment is 1, and then I will close the bracket. So basically, the underscore, each underscore, I added another index column on top of that. And so once this is done, and if I click now, and in the what we'll see here, if you go in a table, you will see the row number start showing up in here. So we have this and the row number. And if you go to the next row, row number 2 here, click on the empty space here. So you see the row number start from 1 and 2, and so forth, so on. Now from here, it becomes very, very easy. What we just need to do is click. And the one more thing is, when you try to expand, you will not see the row number in here. There are 2 ways to solve this. And the reason behind that is because there is a type of this particular statement is established. Again, this is a little bit of an advanced M. So it tells this is of type table, and this table contains these column. Since which is INDDC column, index, previous index, and all the stuff. But since we added the index column or row number column, that doesn't exist here. That's why we are not seeing it there. So the one way is we can delete everything, and up to, you have to be very, very careful what you're deleting. And we can delete here, and that should do it. So now if I expand, it will give me the row number as in a column. It's going to give me everything. Now, what is the disadvantage deleting that and no deleting that? If we delete the type table, we also lose the type of the columns, right? Because whatever the column type is, text, date, integer, nothing wrong with that. You can actually, I can go row number here, and then let's insert the step here just to show, and see the row number type is turned out to be ABC123, which is of any type. And then you can manually add it as a type, change the type to whole number. Or what you can do is, again, I'm going to go back to my group rows. That's my group row call here, just previous step here. And then if I have, hopefully I cut and paste everything there. Oh yeah, okay. So all this was already there. So I added the type of my new column. So I can say row number. Again, the row number is the column which we added as an index, and I said it is of type number, for example, right? So that's what it is. And if I now expand and I say I don't want all these columns. Again, if I want many columns, I need INDDC column. That's my original data, and my row number column. These are the 2 columns I needed. I don't need rest of the columns because those were just the helping columns to get to the point. And now I click OK here. So if you see the row number has a data type, I don't have to add a change type step. So now I have a INDDC, my original column, my row number column, and I don't need a grouping anymore. I can remove this group column as well. That is just for the purpose of getting the index number. Again, insert, and if you look at that, we have our grouping or the row number by when the value changes. So if you look at the row number first, the row number is 1. This row number second, it's a 0. It starts from the 1 and then 2, again 1. It's 1 2 3 4 1. All right, as you saw in this video, we've done many things, but the most important part was first in Excel, I tried to develop my logic, how I'm going to reset row number when the value changes. Once I establish that logic, like how to group those together and then add the index number on top of that, then I just translated that logic in Power Query and I showed you how you can do that. Again, it's not super complicated, but at the same time, I don't want to say it's easy as well. But anyhow, something maybe can be helpful to you in your reporting requirements and for data preparation. Um, as I always says, let me know what you guys think about this video and do share your feedback. And most importantly, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and share with your network, and if possible like the video and leave your feedback. Once again, thanks for watching. Load more videos in the pipeline. Until next video, have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye for now. Cheers.